Hello and thank you for joining the first edition of your favorite program, Journalist Hangout. My name is Ayodele Ozubakun. We have 67 more days to the conduct of the 2019 elections in Nigeria, as each passing day brings us closer to the all-important poll. Always keep a date with us for in-depth information and analysis. Today on the program, President Buhari refusal to sign amended electoral bill divides lawyers, politicians, and other Nigerians. Crisis looms as fuel marketers give ultimatum for shutdown of depots over 800 billion naira subsidy debt. Federal government procures 30 aircraft to fight Boko Haram as terrorist group continue to attack on soldiers. And later on the show, after the altercation, the PDP vice presidential candidate, Reverend Father Ejike Mbaka, apologizes to Peter Obi. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Dari Odufaokon, and Mojid Jamiu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Welcome back. According to a popular adage by Yoruba people of southwest Nigeria, when a blacksmith hits his avail repeatedly at his spots, then something is amiss. Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, has refused to give his assent to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill sent to him by the National Assembly for the record fourth time. Now, President Buhari, through his legislative aides, has given various reasons for his action, but Nigerians have pitched tents for or against the president's refusal to append his signature to the amended electoral bill to become law. Is this a case of the political exigency versus legal correctness? As lawyers, politicians, and other Nigerians continue intense debate over this matter. Babajide, I thought that this amended bill is a framework that will perfect the 2019 election. It's 67 days to that election, and a lot of Nigerians felt that in 2015, the card reader wasn't reflected on the 2010 amendment bill as amended that time, electoral bill, and it wasn't legitimate, but we used it, and it affected some cases in courts. So a lot of people thought that all things being equal, the card reader will reflect, and it reflected on this amendment bill, and we are not going to have the issues of incident forms and everything. But President Buhari is saying it is too close to the election. President Buhari is saying that, look, they can make do with what we had on ground before, and they've had reason to bring this from the National Assembly back and forth for the record fourth time. What are the political intrigues behind this electoral bill?
If I were President Buhari, I would go ahead and give my assent to this bill. The president is the only one who can explain with clarity why he does not want to sign this bill. Because if you look at what his correspondence with the National Assembly, the president has not come out clearly to even talk about why he does not want or the portions of the bill that is opposed to. They talk about the ECOWAS protocol on good governance that Nigeria signed in 2011. There's a section of it that says that no election, no new laws can be substantially introduced to the electoral laws 6 months before to the election, except with the consent of a majority of stakeholders. So even that one has what's it called, a kind of proviso. Goodluck Jonathan signed the electoral the amended portions of the 2015 Electoral Act 48 hours to the election. In fact, the signature of the clerk, the clerk of the National Assembly, reads 26th March 2015, which is a lot even closer to the election compared to what we have now. What we want, politicians can go ahead playing their games. We will never put ourselves in their position. But what we want as a people is for us to have an electoral process that we can vouch for, that will separate us from people who still live in the Stone Age. A situation in which our electoral system can be manipulated at will is not what any Nigerian who truly loves his country wants. The president is saying this has come too late, and is asking that it should be introduced in the next election. If there are pitfalls, if there are loopholes that can be exploited, why is the president wishing that those loopholes can be exploited when he has left office? Do you get the point that I'm making?
Yeah.
If those, identify the loopholes that you are talking about. Let Nigerians have a healthy debate. If we do not want those portions, then fine. But to say, no, this thing should not come now, they should be after this election. I don't think many Nigerians buy that idea, especially when it's not clear on what he's talking about. It just, when you and I will discuss this, especially the electronic front-loading of results, they are saying that it's possible for maybe agents of two parties that are working together, maybe there's an alliance, that they can actually doctor the outcome and then just front load. In my view, one of the most revolutionary portions of that bill is that electronic transmission of results, because the cumbersome nature of our election will be dealt with. Even all those collation at ward level, collation at local government level, we may not need those collations anymore, and results will be delivered fast. What is the point? A country like India, the world's biggest democracy, if you do an election in India today, that same day, people will know the winner. But Nigeria is a much smaller country. Somebody has to drive down in states like Cross River, where the state capital could be like 7 hours away, or even Adama, the same thing, or Kaduna, you will now drive down for 7 hours to go and deliver. Yes, it's our 7 hours. You now go and deliver the thing. They will wait for you. You'll be reading this thing.
We'll be at the collation center.
Yes.
We'll be at their mercy.
Or what we had the last time when we had to wait. Some of us were falling asleep when Professor Jega was calculating this thing manually all by himself. He didn't trust anybody in INEC to help him. He had to do it. So anything that will revolutionize our electoral system is what we wish for.
Dari, looking at what the president has done, will you think it will contribute to the success of the 2019 election? His refusal to sign that Electoral Act, from what you've seen so far and what we've seen in that document, the amendments, the developments?
Like the maestro said, politicians are at work now, playing politics, as I want to put it. And at a time like this, we'll see a lot of issues as we are seeing now. What would ordinarily have passed as, oh, we have amended the Constitution, the president has signed, everybody is happy, won't be the same again. I sincerely think that Mr. President must have good reasons for refusing to sign this once again, the 4th time.
Not political reasons.
Well, he is a politician too. You see, the moment we run away from a few realities, we may not really be able to do justice to what is on ground. Buhari himself is a politician. So if he has political reasons not to sign at this time, Are we also good to say the leadership of the National Assembly also have political reasons for insisting that he must sign? You see, when politicians are at their own game, it behoves on us to look at what is happening very critically. In my own opinion, one of the reasons the presidency now gave for not signing is the possibility of confusion of voters or even some other stakeholders in this matter being confused as to which rule or which laws actually guides the next election. I agree with that. Why are we so determined to introduce an alteration or a change or amendment at this time? I mean, less than 90 days to a major election.
It's the same law was signed 48 hours.
That's something that has been done before.
Don't forget that this thing has been repeatedly sent
So
if they had agreed on it, we won't be looking at
exactly.
Less than 90
That's where
days.
I'm going now. Sorry, let me quickly ask. Can the National Assembly truthfully tell us that for everything Mr. President has rejected on these 4 occasions, they have attended to and changed? Can they tell us that between them and Mr. President, there has been an agreement that, oh, yes, we are satisfied with this. Now, let me say, if he is insisting on something and they are yet to change it, we can't force him to sign.
MJ,
that's my take.
Do we have the National Assembly? Are we going to experience what happened during Obasanjo time? Is it possible for the president to be vetoed? I think 72 in the Senate and 240 something in the House of Rep. Can the opposition muster that kind of figure this time around to veto Mr. President?
I doubt if they have that. I doubt if the National Assembly, as led by Sharaki now, has that numbers. I doubt if they can get the numbers, both as the Senate and the reps. But then, like Odufo said, the thing is, you don't. Have they agreed on some of this point? Like now, there are some 4 areas which the president actually pointed out. I mean, areas of, that they have been sending to them. Like one particular one, they refer to ward collation officers. No, rather, instead of referring to ward collation officers, the National Assembly referred to them as registration area collation officers. There are 2 different things. And persistently, it's been telling them to change this thing, they didn't change it. You might say it means to political parties, it is ward. They are wards, like we have local government. But to INEC, they are called registration areas. They call them RAs and not wards. So these things, but those in the National Assembly, they are politicians. But INEC is a statutory agency. They are saying that, no, this thing should be corrected. They didn't correct that. Now, another section is Section 34 of the bill. Section 24 of the bill, which was referring to Section 85. They said they should redraft a particular area, which says it gives 21 days or 90 days for parties to march together and give notice to INEC. They were not that, there was an ambiguity, whether it is 21 days or 90 days that parties need to give notice on before you can tell INEC that you are marching. There was an ambiguity there. There was another one, Section 11, which amended Section 36. They said it must be specific. They were referring to, they want the figure 30 to be substituted for 60. But the National Assembly does not specify where that 30 should be substituted, because they were, Section 5 of the bill as amended in Section 18, that Section 18 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So where do they want that 60 to be replaced with 30? So those ambiguities, the president said, go and correct this thing and bring it back. But then he also said, even if I sign it, if you bring it clean, if I sign it, I propose that it should be for further elections, but not the 2019 election, because it is too close.
Those things that Mojid read out, is it would that be enough to override the registration and legitimizing our card reader? Because as it is now, there's no law back in that card reader.
No.
And we've seen what that card reader has done to our electoral system.
No, there is no, as it is now, the card reader is not backed by law. And we all know that electronic
Voting.
no, what was it called?
Accreditation.
Accreditation is one way to ensure that elections are not rigged. I doubt if Buhari would have won if INEC had not insisted on card reader, especially in some states. No, card reader. I doubt if he would have won. The result would have been manipulated, especially in the southern part of the country, you know, where the ruling party at that time was quite strong, you know. So it's limited. If you look at the votes returned in previous elections in those places, and you compare to what happened in 2015, the quantum of votes that used to come, they easily took care of that. You now find that in some states they were returning like 250,000 for the ruling party, when in the past it could have been like 500. So the card reader actually helped him to win the election. Now, the truth is, some of those issues that Moji talked about are mere semantics and issues that are not enough to refuse to sign. In any case, the reason the president does not want to sign is not because they didn't use proper English where they should use proper English. The reason he has given that is too close to the election. Whatever anybody comes up with to say, oh, you should have written 60 here and you wrote 30, those are minor things that both of they could have agreed upon because they are not fundamental. But the president has said, no, this time is too short. I don't think that it is right
for us to use it for this election.
Because the election is too close. That is the reason, not those little...
Okay, moving on now. Lately, the Boko Haram insurgents have intensified their attacks on military formations in Nigeria's northeast, and it will take superior firepower to repel them. But doubts about this hover in horizon over alleged inadequate equipment to carry out such onslaught against the insurgents. Well, we got a cheering news last week by the federal government that the federal government has acquired 30 aircraft for the anti-terror war. The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, who disclosed this in Kano, said the military is also expecting 12 brand new aircraft, including 6 attack helicopters, to prosecute the battle. Mojid, better days are here.
Yes, good news to say, but we should understand that there's a difference between procurement and taking delivery. These equipment are just being procured. Apart from the ones we are expecting from the US, the 8 new attack helicopters are just being sourced from Italy, and it takes some time to bring these things down.
So it will take some time. It's not as if...
No, it's not as if we just
go
on ground and pick them. I don't think so. Even the one we paid for almost a year ago with the that Trump approved, the 12 fighter jets are yet to be delivered.
Tucano.
Yeah, the Tucano. So fine, it's sharing news for our guys that this will eventually come, but they are still being procured. We have not taken delivery of this equipment, but it will boost their morale that at least somebody is listening somewhere. I mean, in the last few weeks, our guys have been mostly overrun because of the way the Boko Haram have been using unconventional means to attack our guys. But then, if they've had the advantage of air power supporting the ground troops, probably it will have been a different scenario. But I think it's still cheering news that we are expecting this.
Dari, briefly, when you look at this kind of news, and what do you make of it?
Well, we've had news like this in the past, and we've rejoiced. We've even clapped, and we've even praised the system, the government. But at this time, with the experience we've been in, I would rather say they should tell us when the equipment or the ammunition or the aircraft, when they arrive properly, when they are delivered, when the soldiers can use them. You see, our soldiers are on the battlefield and they are dying daily. Soldiers need ammunition and equipment to fight, not promises. They need hardware equipment to fight and prosecute this war. So they let them keep all these procurement details to themselves and only tell us when they bring in this. Yes, when they take delivery. That's my take on that.
Jide, how will this boost our fight against insurgents? Because we know that the aircraft, the Navy, they were short of aircraft, and the maintenance for the old new ones. And how would this help in boosting our fleets?
Yeah, it will help significantly. Actually, the aircraft from Italy were supposed to be delivered in December.
December?
This month.
Really?
So it's not supposed to be...
a long time thing?
Yes, a long time thing, like the Super Tucano that right now we are thinking of 2022 before they can be delivered. These ones, our pilots have gone for training. Okay. If the first batch of pilots are back from training, another batch is on the way. We are looking at 5 ground attack helicopters from Italy, light attack helicopters, and transport helicopter, not as big as Chinook that we wanted to buy that Obama vetoed, but it will help in troop insertion because you can put troops in it and then drop the troops on the battlefield. So it will help us. Some of our staff
doesn't have any other components about dropping of troop.
No, it's a transporter helicopter. It's not like Chinook that can also be used to fight. Yeah, but this one is just largely for troop insertion, and lifting injured fighters from the war zone. So by March, God willing, those fighter jet, those ground attack helicopters will come in from Italy. So it's good news, and I'm happy because we won't have to wait for so long. The Air Force has been doing a tremendous work. Well, unfortunately, many people criticize them for the late response to for not responding promptly during the attack on Italy. But what actually happened was the message did not get to the Air Force on time. It's not every time that the fighter jet will be hovering in the air. It's not all the time. So once it's not like a transport plane that can even be refueled and you'll be wasting time on there. No, once they get a message, they go to where the fighting is taking place and they respond appropriately. But in this case, the message actually came from another military base in Damasak. And by the time they got to that place, it was late. Some of these attacks by Boko Haram are lightning fast. Within 15, 20 minutes, they've done what they want to do, 45 minutes maximum, and they've gone. It's not in all cases that they remain there for hours. No. Not when they're attacking an army base. They know that the Air Force will come. So we can acquire 1 million aircraft. But if we do not improve our intelligence gathering, if we do not improve the synergy between the armed forces, synergy in this case, the Army and the Air Force must constantly work together. If the commander on ground must be able to communicate with his communication equipment with the pilot of an F-7, our supersonic jet, or the pilot of our Alpha jet, so that once there's a problem, they run quickly to the scene. That is the only way we can have an advantage over the enemy, because thankfully, the enemy does not have air power. The only thing they have is drones, which they can use to take photographs of.
And I'm not sure we deploy as drones again.
No, the drones at this stage, a lot of them are not serviceable. That is the truth. That is the truth. I don't want to go further. That's why you don't see the Air Force use drones to great effect in the past. But a lot of them are not serviceable at this time. That's why they are not using them. They are taking their time. What Sadiq is trying to do is to get Nigerian Air Force technicians to fabricate spears by themselves. You look at the aircraft like the Alpha jet. It is actually Nigerian technicians that are fabricating spears for Alpha jet now, because the Alpha jet had been decommissioned many years ago. but we still manage to use it. It's still useful to us. It's still useful. We do not have a choice.
Let's fire on the mountain.
So this is the thing. They are doing their best, and we hope that these attacks on our troops, because almost every day they are still attacking troops. Just even late last week, they still killed our soldiers. So these attacks have to end, and it is with solid equipment that we can get there.
When we return, after an altercation with PDP vice presidential candidate, Reverend Father Mbaka apologizes to Peter Obi. Stay with us. It's still Journalist Hangouts. We'll be right back after this breather.
Till December 14th.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is your best program on television, Journalist Hangouts. And if the words of American literary critic Harold Bloom, that spiritual power and spiritual authority notoriously shade over into both politics and poetry, is anything to further on, then the foray over altercation between the Catholic priest, Reverend Father Ejike Mbaka of Adoration Ministry, and vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Peter Obi, can be better imagined. After insulting Obi, that his efforts and that of Atiku Abubakar will end in disgrace, Father Mbaka has apologized to Peter Obi over the issue. Let's bring you to the moment he apologized.
On behalf of myself, Reverend Father Mbaka Ejike Camelus, the servant and the spiritual director of this Adoration Ministry, Enugu, Nigeria. I wish to apologize humbly to the former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi, who came here on Sunday for bazaar. In any way, shape, or form, my utterances and actions on that bazaar induced, initiated, or prompted derogatory remarks, criticisms, unhealthy attack to his personality. I don't intend any of this. All I said on that day, I never meant to insult him, nor to bring his political career down. My intention is simply to support the work of God. If my actions exhibited this manner or any unhealthy attitude that provoked even himself and those who love him, that brought about all these verbal attacks, I am asking whoever was or is or will be hurt to please forgive me.
I saw that video, the first video, and I was like, it took me time before I watched the video. MJ, and when you look at his apology now, what do you make of it?
Well, they actually started that apology by saying that that's a difference between Christ and the Son. That's in humility and pride. That he has brought himself down to apologize. But then, like we were saying here, back camera, clerics don't have any business dwelling into politics in the first instance. Just like the same way Oyedepo, misread a satire and he went off curve. If you don't delve into a terrain that, you are supposed to be the father of all. They should leave politics to politicians and just steer clear. So this apology wouldn't have been necessary in the first instance. If you face your business, Obi was very humane. It was just calm. It was Obi was there. APC guys were there, and you just took him down. I don't think it was fair.
And quoting him, he said, "You and Atiku Abubakar, you end up in disgrace." And I was like, Peter Obi was so composed. He was unfazed. He was very composed. The way the Ejike Mbaka was talking with a note of finality, as if he's God.
They're actually playing God. Not only him, a couple of them. They're playing God, and the whole world is watching Nigeria. And I'm sure some highly placed persons, highly placed global personalities will be having serious laughs over what is happening in our country. These gentlemen of God, as I want to call them, I don't want to borrow
God of men.
A phrase, gods of men, that is now common, because they should stop playing God. If you look at a politician who has not only injected his money, his time, his energy, his entire personality is being into seeking an office, and you told him in a tone of finality that your ambition will end up in disgrace. That's playing God, and they should do less of this. Aside that, politics should be left for politicians. These are our clerics, sincerely. They have followership, but they must begin to understand that their followers also have political leanings. And I was listening to somebody who, if you want to offend this boss of mine, just talk ill of Oyedepo, talk ill of Papa, as they call him. But after that satire, this boss of mine said he had no doubt Papa misfired, and that he's really, really disappointed. Gradually, their followers will get disappointed. Nigerians will get disenchanted with them. If they continue,
you are dangerously wealthy.
In all this issue, he came around and said he's dangerously wealthy. They are taking us all for a ride, and it cannot continue forever.
I'll say, touch not my anointing.
You see, the anointing should stop touching politicians. Let's stop touching politicians.
Note of caution, MJ, take your time.
I'm sure you are 10 minutes.
It's obvious.
I attend Gospel Apostolic Church. Babajide, the bottom line is this, that what you are looking at is that I think our clerics, they are going too far in terms of the way they delve into politics. And right now, it is the number of churches, politicians too. In 2015, it was the number of churches that Jonathan visited. He came, he visited Chosen, visited Redeemed.
Even mushroom churches.
So
make money
the way they are dragging these churches out into politics, I think it's not healthy at all.
Well, I don't think it's right to generalize. Let's talk about the people who are into this. Someone like Mbaka, Reverend Father Mbaka, has been involved in politics since around 1999. I remember his battles with Chimaroke Nnamani. It got so bad that they began to even, that some of his Chimaroke's supporters were even threatening the man of God, or the God of men. Where Mbaka's case is particularly different, because what he's doing is elevated extortion. When you say before politicians that you prayed for Buhari, Buhari won the election, and he abandoned you, he didn't show appreciation. It's extortion. There's no other name for it.
The ministry also need money.
There's no other name for it. And you should have known when you were praying for Buhari that is not the kind of person who will bring money to you.
Then do his homework.
You should choose the people. If you want
Select
money,
your.
if you want money in return for praying for politicians, then you should choose wisely.
Buhari is the wrong candidate.
You don't go to that Daura man to pray for you and then sit back and expect him to bring money. What kind of miscalculation was that?
And already he has made a wrong position against the person that can give him.
You see, the thing is, when people, before now, he had been abusing the APC, abusing Buhari, go and read all these things.
Yes.
And then suddenly, Atikwu's deputy comes
Who's a
along.
Catholic too.
Comes along, and then, there are people on Facebook who accuse me of always touching you. This man, he was even touching Obi like this. It's the most disrespectful way. Say, me, I just touch you, and Veronica, just touch you, offhandedly,
No, you see,
he was thumping Obi's chest like this, and Obi was just there like a lame dog. Obi didn't utter a word.
Is this for real?
Yes. Look at me.
You see, stunned.
And then another, and the man from Imo.
What's his name
promising
now? He lashed on the opportunity.
Who claimed that he was
representing campaign by President Buhari. We are going to finish this building.
Even that has to be investigated. We need to find out whether President Buhari actually sent.
But you can rest assured.
Whether President Buhari made any promise.
To build that church.
Because I will be massively shocked if indeed the president sent him on that errand and made commitment.
And he said that by Monday last week, the letter of award for that clinic
we even need our journalists to follow up. So the thing is, we need to show respect to people. They must not mix politics with religion. Whether you are a Nenche or Oyedepo or anybody, the moment you begin to do that, even the respect that people have for you, no matter the quantum of anointing that you carry, that respect will begin to go down.
When people will start.
You may have 1 billion hectoliters of anointing. If you continue to talk about politics, in no time,
or you are sounding partisan.
Even your people, your members will begin to desert you. They must realize it. I've had even, I think it was Cardinal Okoye saying that if his church was under him, he would have shut it down.
That's the education back.
So the Catholic Church has to step in now because the image of the church is at stake.
So they have even cautioned him and have told him to
and then it was transferred over something like this.
Okay, I'll take this final break. When we come back, our business correspondent Tolu Ogujobi will be joining us as we discuss this petroleum marketers. Please stay with us. Back, the Yuletide is fast approaching, and what most Nigerians desire is age-free festivity, devoid of any socio-economic hardship. But the faithful may have to be very, very prayerful best to avert the looming fuel scarcity. The Depot and Petroleum Product Marketers Association has given a 5-day grace, after which it will direct shutdown of depots across the country. This was after it suspended its earlier directive to members to stop loading petroleum products effective from 12 midnight on Monday. Now, government has between now and that next 5 days to pay the subsidy debt of 800 billion naira to avert potential crisis. My business correspondent, Tolu Ogunjobi, is joining us. Tolu, what's happening? What's the meaning of this?
Well, it's not nice to hear this at this time at all as we move towards the Yuletide season, but it is what it is. Well, the federal government, I think they've stayed too long on this issue. They've been checking the books. Yes, we knew there were sharp practices before now with regards to subsidy, but like an expert in the sector told me when I was trying to speak to him, but some people were still bringing in these products at that time when he said some people were bringing just papers to collect subsidy claims. So why not get the books right, clear them, and pay them? So I think there's been too much of delay with regards to this issue, and I don't know why it has to get to this point where they want to down tools. We know what will happen if major marketers and the Dapmans of this world down tools. it's going to be very bad because NNPC will bring in products, but nobody will receive the products because the products won't get. The storage facilities are owned by the major marketers. NNPC does not have the facility to do that. What about the trucks that will move these products all around? So it's a problem that I think the government, they stay too much, they took too much of time addressing this issue, and as it is now, they just have to pay these guys whatever they can pay, and let's move on and clear the remaining whatever backlogs they have, and we move ahead. NNPC is the only importer for now. So the major marketers are not even interested in that because the banks cannot even give them money to bring in products. They are taking over their properties, they are taking over their businesses, they are laying off workers. We have to just be realistic. Government needs to stand up and address this issue as quick as they can. And an amount was approved by the House of by the Senate. Let them pay that first. They now say they will give them promissory note. They say they don't want promissory note. They are now requesting for cash payments before they move ahead with anything.
How possible is it to get this cash payment, Babajide? Because these people, their ultimatum is just hovering before Christmas. All this ultimatum they are giving, it's all geared towards before that Christmas.
If you were in their shoes, you would probably do something worse. People's businesses are collapsing in Nigeria due to government's attitude of not keeping its obligations, maintaining its own side of obligations. You can't have a situation in which people use their funds to bring in fuel for the country, and then you don't want to pay. You said, okay, let's check the books for sharp practices. That has been done. We are not at that stage. Again, because someone was saying the other last week that they need to check. No, we've gone past that. We've gone past the stage of verifying whether these are genuine claims. We are at the stage now where you must pay. And you must pay. That is the thing. Now, it shouldn't be all the time that people will twist government before government does what is right. Because if this strike is allowed to happen, Nigerians will suffer. I hear NNPC say, oh, we are going to work for 24 hours. Doing what? the independent marketers, between Ogun and Lagos alone, they have more than 1,400 outlets. How many outlets has NNPC got? You say you want to work for 24 hours. What will you be doing for 24 hours? Even your favorite petroleum marketers are the big-time depot owners. When you talk about is it Mofat? That madam.
Bovaz.
They are the depot owners.
Yes.
So where will you go to?
Capital or Total?
Capital is even
out
more.
of business.
Nobody's talking about Capital anymore. Capital. No, I'm talking about Capital. There are others. These are the people who bring the product to the streets.
Yes.
So you cannot joke with them. Now this appears to be the only weapon they have. That's why they are doing this. When you talk about promissory note, they said, as the name suggests, promissory note is a payment instrument that is post-dated. Based on this, when you approach the banks with the instrument, you don't get the actual value on it. About 30% is knocked off because government will be making the payment at a later date, which ties down the bank's capital. So because you tie down the bank's capital, they will want to make up for that by taking some of the money. I mean, that is wrong. And the longer we keep this, the higher the interest element of it goes up, which is actually, it's like Nigeria just fleecing itself. Because at the end of the day, the interest element will be high.
Mojid, what do we have in our hands here? What can government do? How do we fix this? Because this will affect the economy.
It's sad that we have to face this cycle over and over again. Recall that this same time last year, despite the fact that Ikachukwu projected that we will need so number of quantity of fuel by during the Yuletide period, he gave that notice since around August. Nothing was done about it because my counterpart, the GMD, was flexing muscles. The same situation now, we ended up having a fuel crisis on our hands, then a needless fuel crisis. Now this time, we have been on this subsidy payment for almost a year now. From 1.4 trillion, I mean, they agreed on 800 billion. I mean, both parties. Now, I mean, structure a payment arrangement until the Senate had to, and the Senate committee had to waive in and directed that they should be paid 326 billion. Even the 326 billion is yet to be paid now. You still want to give a promissory note. I think some people are giving this government a bad name in the name of bureaucracy, which is wrong. And I wonder why the president or even the VP, who is the head of the economic team, cannot, make somebody a scapegoat. Because this will be a needless hardship on Nigerians during this period. Well, now, that man has been gracious enough to give us till December 14, or rather to give the federal government till December 14 for them to pay up, and that will lapse by another 5 or 6 days. I don't know why we should engage in this kind of. This is a payment we know we will make. Well, now it's not about NMPC
because it's legitimate.
It's legislative. They brought in product.
They brought in product. You verified that the product came in.
So why are you not paying?
You must pay.
Tolu, where do we go from here?
The dollar differentials, let's remember that even when they brought in some of these products, the dollar was less than 200 to $1.
Yeah.
As we speak today, despite the CBN's intervention, we're still doing 360. Yeah. So these are the issues. Dollar differentials, we have issues around interest rates and all of that. If you see the figures, it's not really up to 800 billion naira. Yeah. But when you add all of this additives, another thing here is we don't joke with the majors. The majors run this country. They are we're talking about the Totals, the Oandos, MRS, Bovas. These are the players.
The Fortals, yeah.
The Fortals of this world. So when you don't pay them, or they can't bring in products, or they can't even distribute products, then there's trouble. Because there's nobody that can handle it, they don't.
They have capacity.
The earlier, the better. Those people that are frustrating the efforts of government, in whichever way, not letting them pay this money as when due, they should do, because they've promised to pay by 14th. Which is Friday, I think. If they don't pay by 14th, and this guy's down to, then we're going to go back to where we started from. Because
if they're down to for 24 hours, we might not recover before Christmas.
That's the problem.
It will affect everything.
The shortage will show. Don't forget, it's not decentralized. Loading of petroleum products is still focused. Almost 80% is Lagos. So all the trucks moving from Lagos outside the states, they won't be able to load products to go outside.
They'll just come here for nothing.
They'll just come and park on the roads. We know the problems we still have on our roads. So it is something that they really need to act as swift, as fast as they can.
Jide, are you discountenancing the fact that the federal government might have a liquidity problem? 300 and something billion naira cash might not be available right now.
No. Don't say that. Don't speak for government.
I'm saying, are you discountenancing the possibility?
No. I refuse to believe that they don't have that kind of money. I refuse to believe that they don't have that kind of money. How does NNPC manage?
Or to import. And
how does NNPC manage to bring in products?
They will tell us they have so trillion of liters stored somewhere.
They have more than 1 billion liters, this and that. Where do they get the money to do all that? You said we are not paying subsidy, but we know, because Ikachukwu has given all kinds of names so that he's not forced to use the word subsidy.
Bridging cost.
At a time when the oil prices went up, even when NPC announced surplus the other day, Abi, you didn't really read about surplus on the NNPC? So you can't tell me that a whole country, a country like Nigeria, that we can't raise that kind of money. Of course we can raise that kind of money. If we want to pay, we'll find the money.
Just $1 billion.
If we want to pay, we'll find the money.
Yes.
If we'll find the money, if we get desperate, we can even go to our strategic reserve to take the money. Because, as I always say, petrol is a security product. If you allow these people to go on strike, the blowback will be extremely embarrassing to government. So government must go ahead and do what is right. Why they left it this late, they are the only ones who can explain. So, but now that we've come to crunch time, they should go ahead and find the money and pay these guys so that you and I are not subjected to unnecessary pain.
Tolu, it's 67 days to Christmas.
I tell you,
no, it's 67 days to the election.
To the elections, just 14 days to Christmas, I think like 2 weeks to Christmas. I think the marketers, if they also get commitment, real commitment, because they are scared about those promissory notes. They said they want to be sure that...
So if the finance ministry can give them good commitment, that they will go ahead.
They want to be very sure.
They don't have to pay all that money.
Yes.
How do they get good commitments?
Well, we have a finance minister who can, tell us that, guys, she has been part of the meetings. You can tell, guys, yes, we are ready. We can face it, maybe
by... pay this over 3 months.
Over 3 months.
This is how we want to pay. This is where we want to take the money.
Yes.
You know,
Let's structure it.
Someone goes to take a LNG dividend and uses it. Nobody talks.
$2 billion.
Can't they go and take that kind
$2
of
billion.
They said it's within the law that they can handle that. That's true. They talked about the NLNG thing.
They can get money from the NSIA, and Nigerian Sovereign Investment Agency. So many places they can get this money
But it is
from.
important that they address this.
So it's over to the federal government to make sure that these people don't grind the economy to an halt. That on or before Friday.
Allow us to enjoy our Christmas.
Very important.
Even if we don't have so much money.
But they know what is at stake. Election is even at stake.
Of course.
So I want to thank you, Mojid Jamiu. Thank you for coming on the show. And my business correspondent, I call him Rua Baba.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And the master himself, Babajide Kolade Toju.
I agree too.
And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on our platform showing on the screen. Catch us live on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Uzubaku. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.